welcome to my channel. My name is Claire Longo, and today we're talking about tips and tricks to succeed as a woman working in tech. So women in tech make up a very small percentage of the technical workforce. I'm going to link an article up here so we can see the stats, but in general, this article is saying that we're only about 25% of AI specialists, and within there, you can imagine the data scientists and machine learning engineers sit, and only 14% of the cloud computing workforce, and again, only 20% of engineers. So yikes. And what I think these stats mean to me is that as a woman in tech, I must think a little bit different. So I've kind of adopted this lifestyle and mindset that might be pretty unique, and it has led to a lot of my success in tech and artificial intelligence. And I want to share what that is with y'all. And my hope is that it will inspire some of y'all and help kind of close this gap that we're seeing in the industry. All right, so let's dive in. The key is going to lie in two categories. There's going to be managing your time and managing your attitude. So a job these days that might claim to offer like a good work-life balance is going to have like very set working hours. It's your 9 to 5. So those jobs with that good work-life balance are almost always going to be enacting kind of like a natural ceiling on the success that we can have in that role. Jobs like that are going to kind of be easy, and that's going to lead to great work-life balance. As a woman in tech, like having good work-life balance is actually like kind of important. It's going to mean that you have time to spend on your personal life. But there's another way to get to that kind of rich personal life and still succeed in your career. So instead of looking for that kind of work-life balance, what I look for is work-life integration. I don't choose a job based on the kind of work-life balance that I think it's going to offer me. Instead, I take ownership over my own work and my own life and look instead for roles where I will have that kind of like autonomy to organize what that looks like. So let's talk about that work-life integration. The reason I call it work-life integration is I am essentially flexing between work and between a personal life. It's kind of like the Dr. Seuss book, like, could you on the train, on the plane, like I can work from anywhere. I've got my laptop, I know my shit, so I don't have to be like overly preparing. And so having like a very strong skill set, just like know your shit and being confident enough in it that you can actually just kind of like do it from anywhere. Like based on what I kind of just described, it sounds like you might always be working. Well, first of all, you need to be able to turn it on and turn it off. The goal of work-life integration is not to have work all the time, but it's to be able to, with more autonomy, seamlessly flex in and out of work mode. This is very hard to do because essentially what you're doing is you're context switching, and context switching is hard. So here's a tip on how I do this. When I'm switching from one mode to another, I might not be able to immediately dive in and just like be there, be present, contribute to conversation and everything in that immediate moment. And so what I do is I just shut up and listen for a minute and just like observe the people around me, what they're talking about, digest the conversation, that kind of thing. And you'll kind of naturally switch into personal life mode versus work mode. You might have like still be thinking through like really complex technical things. You might be thinking through some like cool business strategy stuff, whatever it is. And it's totally like okay to share that, but you don't want to just like talk through it just to hear yourself reason through it, because you need to reason through it. You need to be able to like solve your own problems and really like not dump that on the people around you. Like these people should be like a support system, but not necessarily just like a venting opportunity. So that's kind of a sign to me of that would be an example of not compartmentalizing properly. Compartmentalizing properly in this situation would be like do the work stuff and then switch your brain into personal life mode and be present for the people and the events that you're at within your personal life. Then the other thing that has helped me a lot is just having a routine. I actually love my routine. I don't find it boring at all. I find it that it acts as a baseline operating procedure that enables me to kind of manage anything that life might throw at me. The way that I'm able to kind of seamlessly flex in and out of things and get back on track and not let these kind of like outliers and chaotic things knock me off my game is I have a routine. And that means I always have this kind of like baseline that can get back to. So what I don't want to happen is like the chaos of life, something gets thrown at me, and then it's like impacting my performance at work. And so what I found is like having a routine, I'm literally able to just like take care of anything that is thrown at me, and I know exactly how to get back on track. So routine, it also facilitates like commitment to things. Like if you want to learn a new skill, like I try to find ways to incorporate it into my routine. The best way to make something like that actually happen is to make it part of my routine. I mean, really, the human brain, at least mine, kind of thrives on repetition and chaos together. I find comfort in routine, but I also find inspiration in chaos. So what this means is I kind of like learn from the chaos and the unexpected, but I'm also continuing to succeed by following that routine as much as I can and always having that routine to return to. And this is kind of like how people learn. It's actually, as I talk through it, we're talking about the explore, exploit, and reinforcement learning, which is also how the human brain works. So if you caught that, that's awesome. Great. So let's talk about managing your attitude. So here's a little secret. Hard work and ambition is one of the best things you can do for yourself and for your future. Having a career gives you independence. Having your own ability to earn income gives you freedom. So don't let people work shame you. Don't be ashamed that you are spending your time building skills that are monetizable. Be proud of how you're contributing and how you're growing your career. I think it's excellent. You worked for it, you earned it. And if they're kind of work shaming you for it, they didn't. Don't let anyone work shame you. You're not just supposed to be out there having fun, living your best life. It's great to work for the things that we have and be proud of that. So the other way that I manage my mindset is I try to be very well aware of who is in my circle and who's actually influencing my mindset. We might not like it, but like the truth is that if we spend a lot of time with somebody, we start to kind of absorb them, their ideas, their attitudes, things like that. And so I think because of that, it is important to be very careful who we choose to give time to and who we let close into our inner circle. So, I mean, reality check is like, I realized like with these kind of like low statistics on women in tech, like as a woman in tech, you're a pretty unique person. So someone who's very serious about achieving like their highest potential in a tech career, they're already going to kind of think a little bit different than a lot of other people. But what this means is that like many people won't understand you or kind of have like your shared mindset or values. And we kind of become the people that we hang out with, the people that we let close. We kind of absorb their ideas, their values, their attitude. So I always say vibes attract your tribe. Just be yourself and you'll kind of attract the right people to you. I think it's so important to just build up like a supportive network of people around you. So it's also important to get good at something difficult. I think one of the things that I've sought to do in my career is kind of hone in on these kind of challenging skills that other people don't want to learn and just get really good at them. And a good example of that is mathematics. If I had a nickel for every time I told someone that I majored in mathematics or statistics, and they responded with, oh, like math is hard, or oh, I hate math, or like, oh, like I had to take one stats class for my biology degree. It was the worst class I ever took. Well, first of all, like that's kind of rude to say to someone who spent their entire life studying that. Like, I'm not saying to the biologist, like, oh, I hated biology, because that would be rude. But I do hear this a lot. And what it sounds like to me is people who have labeled something as difficult, therefore they're not going to pursue it. But what I did a little bit differently here is I labeled something as difficult, therefore I pursued it. So getting good at something really hard can challenge you and position you for success. First of all, because a lot of other people are just like not going to put in the effort that you're putting in. So you're going to have that competitive edge. And also it's really just going to help you develop a skill that's actually monetizable here. All right, here's my favorite tip. Be a builder, not a consumer. So I mentioned one of my earlier videos, I was homeschooled. And when I was homeschooled, like we didn't have access to like TV, social media, a lot of like popular music, like a lot of that stuff, like we just didn't have access to. And there was this kind of like mindset that if we wanted something, instead of like buying it or consuming it, we should build it. So, oh, you want to play a video game? Great. Figure out how to code and start building a video game. That kind of attitude is what I was raised with and have kind of like taken with me into my career. And I think that it has really helped me with my career growth. It taught me to think with like a builder's mindset instead of a consumer. If I see something, I'm not like, oh, I want to use that, I want to buy that. I'll think instead like, how can I build with something like this? And I think that's just kind of the right way to approach your careers when you see a product that's really cool, like understand how it works, understand the business behind it, and really look for opportunities to create something. And I think there can kind of be like this attitude with like tech, social media, artificial intelligence, that like these tools have a negative impact in society. And to like to some extent they do. And that's like that can be like a whole nother video how to manage that responsible AI. But essentially, like when we see tools like this, I think the worst thing to do is to disengage with them. Like, I don't personally love how social media has changed how people connect and interact. However, it has changed how people connect and interact, and I'm not going to be able to change that. What I can do, though, is I can learn how to understand and use these tools in a positive way. So the key here is not to disengage from these technologies, but really to become somebody who builds and understands them and knows how to use them for a positive outcome. Great. So I really hope that sharing about my own mindset here as a woman in tech has helped inspire some other people. I hope that it has sounded familiar to some people as well. Please drop a comment down below if you'd like to continue the discussion. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.